The Greek queen of the underworld and goddess of spring known as Persephone is involved in many of the ancient myths, but her most famous appearance is in the story of her and her mother, Demeter. Persephone was the daughter of Zeus and Demeter. She was obviously known to be very beautiful, so much so the god Eros caused every other god to fall in love with her. Demeter was very protective of her daughter and very much cared for her. Zeus not so much, considering he had 2 children with her. Eventually, Zeus's brother Hades fell in love with Persephone, her warm personality melting his icy heart. He asked to marry her, to which Demeter promptly responded, no. So of course he kidnapped Persephone instead one day when she was out playing with some nymphs. He had a narcissus flower placed in the woods, which Persephone picked and was a signal for Hades to drag her down into the underworld. The nymphs didn't see what happened, but Zeus and the sun god Helios did. Both remained silent on the matter, not wanting to stir things up. Demeter was distraught and wandered the earth searching for her lost daughter. She was told to ask Helios, whom in the end felt really bad about it and told her the truth. She became even more furious, even though Helios tried to convince her that being queen of the dead might not be such a bad thing for her daughter, which I have to agree with, that's a pretty rad title. But no, Demeter disagreed and displayed, as the god of harvest, her wrath and grief by abandoning all her duties and letting the world go to waste. Harvest failed, animals died, and humans starved. Zeus needed to find a solution that would satisfy Hades and Demeter alike before everyone died. So he promised her he would bring Persephone back from the underworld if he was convinced she was there against her will. But when he went down, it appeared she had eaten pomegranate seeds, which apparently caused one to lose their will to return to the living world. I'm calling this major plot convenience, but considering the story's a few thousand years old, I'll let it slide. Demeter accused Hades of tricking her and they had a big fight. Zeus settled it by deciding that Persephone would spend 6 months with her husband and 6 with her mother. This ancient custody settlement didn't make either party super happy, but they had no other option. So for 6 months of the year, when Persephone was away from Demeter, the earth's crops suffered, and when she returned, Demeter was so overjoyed that all flourished for the other 6 months. This was the ancient Greeks' explanation for the change of seasons and the success of crops. By the way, Persephone grew to love her husband Hades, who shared his riches and power alike to keep her around. He treated her pretty well, and she served as a warm influence on his usual harsh decisions. While she is the queen of the underworld, she also became known as the goddess of spring and is often associated with birds and flora. Persephone is involved in many other myths such as Orpheus and Eurydice, Sisyphus, Hercules, Theseus and Pirithous, and Adonis and Aphrodite. Her own story, though, serves as a representation of ancient Greece's objectification of women and the message that girls should remain home for their own good. It also represents the bond between mother and daughter and the pain of their separation when it comes time for the latter to marry. Anyways, that is the story of Persephone and her mother Demeter. Please appreciate the fact that the original length of this painting footage was 8.5 hours long.